Just turned 26 a couple months ago. These are the 5 uncomfortable things I have learned thus far in my 20s. Number 1, my self-love has to be stronger than my desire to be loved. Number 2, I'm not responsible for what is done to me, but I am always responsible for my emotional reactions. Number 3, your life will be defined with how you handle uncertainty. Number 4, the relationships in my life are mirrors of the relationship that I have or should have with myself. Number 5, when things go wrong in my life or there's a storm in my life, shifting my perspective is everything. Instead of why has this happened to me, I think, what am I supposed to learn from this? Hope that helps.
Here are 3 of the biggest lessons I learned in my 20s, friendship edition. The girl who's willing to talk shit about her best friends to you is saying much worse things about you. The girl who suddenly becomes extra giggly and bubbly and flirty around the guy that she knows you like is a snake. The girl who can be friends with everybody and can see all sides of an obviously messed up story has loyalties to nobody but herself.
Hey beauties, I'm Tia LaRae. I hope you're having an elevated week. Thank you for clicking on my channel. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for TikTok commentary, girl talk, and all things elevation. Today we're going to be diving into the topic of things I wish I knew in my 20s. Now, if you're over the age of 25, it's no question. You probably look back at your 20-year-old self like, who was that person? Seriously, by age 25, your brain is finally fully formed and your whole perspective changes. Your priorities change, your desires change, and most of us have some regrets. But I believe as long as you learn from what you went through, you won. And with that being said, let's dive into the video. But before we do that, please be sure to give this video a like and please subscribe to my channel for more content like this.
If you're in your 20s and you feel unhappy and confused about life, this video is for you. Here's what I mean. If you're unhappy and confused about your love life, I don't know if I should be with this person. Who should I be with? Do I want love? Etc. Work. I'm unhappy with my salary. I don't like my company. Should I go find a new job? Etc. Life. I don't know what step to take next. I just feel really lost. Friendships. I don't know if I should be friends with them. They don't make me feel better, but I trust them. But do I trust them? If these questions are questions that flood your brain and you're in your 20s, this video is for you. For starters, this is normal. In your 20s, I wish people normalize the fact that between 20 and 29, you're supposed to feel these things. Here's why. Because your 20s is all about learning about you. And this is what I mean. In your 20s, you're finally out of college. And if you didn't go to college, you're finally entering the workforce. And if you're not entering the workforce, you're finally realizing that life is speeding ahead. So you're at this point of realizing, oh God, I have to adult. Now, here's what I mean. You are now forced to come to the reality that you are not being sheltered by your parents. So your brain is trying to calculate all these things: life, friendships, love, work, etc. And it is time for you to focus on just learning about you. That is the pinnacle of your 20s. Your 20s is all about getting to know who you are. What do you like? What do you not like? Who do you like? Who do you not like? What do you want to do? What do you not want to do? The most successful people focused on this in their 20s. Go watch an Elon Musk interview. Go watch a Steve Jobs interview. Go watch a Steve Bezos, Jeff Bezos interview. These people will talk about their 20s just focusing on getting to know themselves. And why is this important? Because your identity is something that no one can steal. The sooner you come to terms with who you are, your talents, your skill sets, your weaknesses is what will set you up for success. And I just wish that people talked about your 20s. It's supposed to be this period of trials and tribulations. I did not find my footing until I turned 29. And how I knew I found my footing was this. Work started feeling really good. My work matched my income and my lifestyle. My friendship supported all the above. That's how you know. So anyways, if you're in your 20s and feeling really stuck, just keep going, but make sure that your North Star, the thing that you're focusing on is, what do I want? Who do I want to be? Who is it that I want to be surrounded with? Because if that's what you're focusing on, you will be set up for success. Okay? Good night.
I couldn't agree with her more. It is so important to find out who you are outside of anyone else in your life. what you want without any expectations or disappointing anyone else. What do you want? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And it's so important to try different things without fearing failure, because without trying things, you'll never know what you truly like or what you could be missing out on.
I want to talk about some unconventional things I learned in my 20s. And when I say unconventional, I don't mean anything crazy. I just mean things that don't center a relationship, a good skincare routine, and saving money, because we've heard enough of that. The first thing is going to be learning what your beliefs are, where you find meaning in life. Do you find meaning in relationships, your friends, your family, your partner? Do you find meaning in suffering, things that you've been through, or do you find meaning in your job? Another thing is, if you're thinking about quitting somewhere, it's probably already past the time where you should have quit. This is another one that I don't know what to do with, but I realized somewhat recently that the person that you are only exists in your head. And what made me realize this is hearing other people describe me to other people and just being like, what? Everyone has their own version of who you are to them. Something else that I didn't learn to appreciate until I got a little bit older is my grandparents. And this is not to say that I didn't appreciate them as my grandparents, but as people is what I mean. So I started to learn more about my grandparents' upbringing, because your grandparents are literal walking history books. So I started to learn about their upbringing, what they experienced as kids, how they raised my parents and things like that. And that was really eye-opening to me. I learned a lot from them. But I just want to say that goes into another point, that just because someone is older does not necessarily mean that they're wiser. So just remember that when you're taking advice or listening to someone that is older than you.
Knowing who you are is knowing where you come from and who you come from. A lot of times we tend to take our grandparents for granted, but it's important to have those conversations with them while they're still
One of
here.
the greatest lessons I learned in my 20s is that your success is 10% brain power and 90% consistency. So it's literally doing the same thing over and over and over and getting better at that one thing, compared to most of the people that are successful, including myself. I actually believe this about myself, are not that smart. I'm not some Harvard grad. I've actually never even taken a business class. Like the whole time I was in college, I never took one business class. So, these things, it's just about consistency and then also being coachable and learning over time. Those are the things that are most important. So 90% is consistency, 10% is brain power. And also being smart enough to know what you don't know.
Here are 10 pieces of advice for my 20-something. Listen up. My love, stop thinking that you need to have it all together. You don't. You are doing just fine. Give it time and keep going. Don't give up. The guy or girl that you're crying over about right now will be a wink in your memory 5 years from now. You'll fall in love again. So dry those tears and wipe those eyes. You'll be okay. Wear sunscreen on your face, on your neck, and on your hands every single day. Your 30, 40, and 50-year-old skin will thank you later. And drink more water and less soda and juice. Work out and take care of your body now, because it gets harder as you get older. Trust your intuition. You trust other people more than you trust yourself. Believe what your body, what your nervous system, what your mind is telling you. Follow your gut feeling and stop ignoring it. Listen to your parents or your guardian. They have been there before. You have never been their age, but they have been yours. I promise you, they are not trying to lead you down the wrong direction. Stop trying to please everybody. You want everyone to like you. You don't even like everyone. That people pleasing needs to come to a stop. It's time to be selfish. And stop comparing yourself to some random person on the internet, or anyone in general for that matter. You don't know what they're doing to get the lifestyle that they have, who they laying up with, who they sleeping with, who they plucking, sucking, bucking with to live the life that they're living. You don't know what sacrifices, good, bad, or indifferent, that they had to endure to have the things that they have. Stop comparing yourself and be a leader. Lead the group and stop following. We have enough followers. You have enough followers. I don't see too many leaders. If you have any tips for 20-somethings or 30-somethings, drop them in the chat below and follow me for more videos like this.
Let's talk about the 20 things I wish I knew while dating in my 20s. If you have to ask yourself if you're in the right relationship, you're probably in the wrong relationship. There is somebody out there waiting to love you more than you ever thought possible. Don't quit before you find them. There are no shortcuts to healing from heartbreak. Allow yourself to feel it, and eventually you'll move past it. Sometimes good men do bad things. It doesn't mean you have to forgive them, but it doesn't mean you have to demonize them either. Learn to leave someone without villainizing them. You'll never find peace if you ask for it from the person who disturbed your peace in the first place. Learn to love your loneliness. It's what will protect you from giving yourself away to all the wrong men. Sometimes all you need to do is ugly cry and eat Haagen-Dazs directly from the carton. Let yourself be the stereotype, and you can laugh about it later. Be scared and do it anyways. Go on that first date. Say I love you first. Start that new business. Let your fear fuel your power. Rejection is a part of a life well lived. Just because one man rejected you doesn't mean another won't come along and love you for everything you are. There are 7.8 billion people in the world, and all you need is one. Sometimes it wasn't you and it wasn't him. Not everyone is meant to be together, and most people need to date the wrong person first in order to find the right person later. Know who you are, and no one will ever be able to use it against you. Going back to a man who hurt you means you trust in him more than you trust in your future. Trust me, your future is always better. Don't date a man who uses alcohol as an excuse for his actions. Most of the time, you can't break up with someone without breaking their heart. Learn to be the bad guy because it's a better choice than being the good guy who's lying to their partner. You don't need to be friends with your ex, and you don't need to be the bigger person. You just need to move on. Blocking someone is not a sign of weakness. Learn to viciously edit the negativity out of your life. Dare to ask for more because it's the only way you'll get it. You can love somebody and also know they're not right for you. Your worth is not defined by who didn't love you. Your worth is defined by how you overcame being unloved. There is always time to start over and become the person you want to be. You can resolve to start on May 8th and a half just as much as you can on January 1st. So what are you waiting for? Start now.
I'm turning 30 in like 2 months, and these are 4 of the most valuable lessons that I learned in my 20s. Number 1 is that discipline is what creates freedom. It's ironic because if you're someone that really values freedom, you probably resist discipline, but mastering discipline is what will give you the most freedom. Number 2 is that most things or traits like discipline, vulnerability, communication, work ethic are skills. I used to think that the way that I was fixed to an extent, and that my lack of certain traits was just part of my personality and made me who I was. Once I realized that so many of these things that we think that we just have or don't have are skills that can be developed, my life changed. Number 3 is that being ready is not a feeling, it's a choice. If you're always waiting until you feel ready, you're never gonna take action on anything. And being scared or feeling like an imposter are emotions that won't go away. You just have to learn how to move through them. The more I did this, the more I started to recognize that fear was an indicator that I needed to move towards that thing that I was afraid of, not away from it most of the time. And number 4 is that if nothing changes, nothing changes. This is such common sense, but I still need to remind myself of this often because we tend to get stuck in our ways, but then we get confused as to why we're not making progress in certain areas. Such a cliche, but it's helpful to remember that in order to get something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. That's all.
20 things I learned in my 20s, part like 7.
This one was not an easy truth to swallow, but it's still true. And it's that the people who often need the most love usually express it in the most unloving ways.
Today is my birthday and also the day that my grandfather has passed 2 years ago. So to honor my grandfather's radical transparency, I'm gonna talk about some things that I learned that if I could go back in time to my 20s with what I know now, what would I have done differently? Number 1, I would have gone to therapy or counseling a lot sooner. Everyone told me you need to go party, you need to date, you need to learn yourself, hang out, experience. Sure, experiences do carry merit, but learning about my triggers and having self-awareness would have probably prevented me from having a lot of dysfunctional situations where I didn't communicate, I didn't show up, and I didn't make the other person's life easy. I would have focused on becoming a man of value more than having a woman in my life. Because although, yes, date, figure that out. But the better aligned I became with myself, the more I was able to keep us grounded and be that protector that she needs, emotionally and mentally as well. Building on what I have to offer as a man before I bring a woman into my life, to me, is the better route. Also, needing friendship approval. In my early to mid-20s, I cared a lot about what my friends thought, like too much. Now, I assume that all of our friends mean well, but there's also another side when we can understand they're imperfect too. And a healthy friendship is one where you can have a difference of wants and opinions and still find friendship in that.
I'm just sitting here thinking about a lot of red flags that I ignored when I was dating in my 20s, but now that I'm 30 and I haven't been dating, yeah, the first time a man showed me he can't keep his word, gone. The first time a man showed me he disrespectful, gone. Because disrespect will turn into abuse very, very quickly. And abuse will turn into somebody having to get a grave site. And I pray it ain't never got to come to that, but I'm not with that. The first time a man showed me that he's disloyal and he has a wanderer eye, he got to go, because it doesn't make sense to be with somebody who don't really want to be with you. If a man can't conform and just understand that you are the end all be all and he got to have multiple women, then he need to go find somebody that's okay with him having multiple women. But that woman ain't me. And the first time a man showed me that he might put leisure before handling business, you definitely gotta go. I don't want no man that got no cup to his lip, no blunt to his lip, and no party and all of that, but you got other stuff going on at home and they need to be handled. I don't get time for that. Also, I don't get time for no man who think that they could pimp a woman. You can't pimp me, baby. I'll pimp you.
I'm turning 30 in like 2 months, and these are 4 of the most valuable lessons that I learned in my 20s. Number 1 is that discipline is what creates freedom. It's ironic because if you're someone that really values freedom, you probably resist discipline, but mastering discipline is what will give you the most freedom. Number 2 is that most things or traits like discipline, vulnerability, communication, work ethic are skills. I used to think that the way that I was fixed to an extent, and that my lack of certain traits was just part of my personality and made me who I was. Once I realized that so many of these things that we think that we just have or don't have are skills that can be developed, my life changed. Number 3 is that being ready is not a feeling, it's a choice. If you're always waiting until you feel ready, you're never gonna take action on anything. And being scared or feeling like an imposter are emotions that won't go away. You just have to learn how to move through them. The more I did this, the more I started to recognize that fear was an indicator that I needed to move towards that thing that I was afraid of, not away from it most of the time. And number 4 is that if nothing changes, nothing changes. This is such common sense, but I still need to remind myself of this often because we tend to get stuck in our ways, but then we get confused as to why we're not making progress in certain areas. Such a cliche, but it's helpful to remember that in order to get something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. That's all.
Number 1, nobody cares. Nobody cares. And while that is stressful, it's also very freeing. Nobody is worried about you. When you hit somewhere around 24, 25, 26, you will stop caring. You will simply not care. And it'll be so peaceful. You will realize that all the things that you stressed about before and all the things that matter to you, they don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Finding a significant other or keeping a significant other should never be at the top of your list. That should not be your top priority at this age. There's so much more to chase. Men and women will always be there, but you will not always be the age that you are. You will not always be chasing the degree that you are. You will not always be having the opportunities that you have right now. They are not going anywhere. There is no shortage. Try to work on your relationship with your family. Work on that. Call them, text them, show up to their house. You never know when the last time will be the last time. And unfortunately, with age, that's something that becomes more and more of a reality. So just make every day count with the people that you love. Don't get caught up in chasing a bag or chasing opportunities to the point where you neglect yourself, you neglect your family, the things that you wanted to do, the things you wanted to try. Do not get caught up in that. Money is wonderful, and we do all need it. But the bag won't mean anything if you die alone with that. If that's the only thing that you have when it's all said and done, life really wasn't worth living. You are going to lose friends. A lot. Probably about half of the friends that you have now. If that's normal, that's okay. Everyone is not meant to come along with you. Let me know some of the things that y'all learned in your 20s, 30s, 40s.
Wow, those were some amazing lessons learned in their 20s. I swear, after some of their videos, I was just speechless. I'm like, you ate and left no crumbs. Like, I have no commentary on that because you literally said all there is to say. But yes, if you're still here to the end, you are a real one. Thank you to my Elevated Beauties for subscribing if you have. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.